I thought I would show you on this horse, since this horse is cinchy. They have a problem with saddle sliding too far back much of the time. As I said earlier, the saddle should be back there. The corrector protector system will put it back there. Then you lift it back up with the balance shims as needed to balance the rider, to where they're not all the time pushing against the stirrup to get back in the comfortable part of the seat to be able to ride with some comfort. All that pressure from the stirrup when you're pushing yourself into the comfortable part of the seat goes right to the front of the tree and it pinches. So that's why balance is everything in this game for the horse and the rider. As riding instructors, and I've worked with some of the top riders in the world and some of the top instructors. Molly Sifright, Thinking Riding series books at the Talon School in Cirencester, England. Rode my saddle for many years. And in working with these riders and trainers, it is that you can be a good rider, but if your saddle is not balanced so that you have a neutral seat to operate from, you cannot ride well, and your horse will not do well, as dressage would go, or reining, or really any sport that takes some considerable horsemanship in the sport and some good riding. So you have to have a balanced seat. This is the Cowboy Dressage. This is my saddle. It's a 17-inch saddle in the seat. Quite short for the horse, really. Only 25 inches long here to here at the center and the rear. But what I do with the rigging to compensate, and I do this with a lot of my saddles, to compensate for needing to hold saddle one way or the other, is to put a 3-slot arrangement. I always work off the center, which is about a 7/8, and that usually gets us right into the heart girth area here, which is going to be within 3 or 4 inches of the elbow. That normally holds the saddle where it should be when it's just back of the shoulder. The protector pad will move it further back if it needs to be further back for the horse. His own movement, the leverage that he provides to that shield, scoots your saddle out of the way of his natural movement. This is what makes this so unique, the protector system, so unique compared to some of the knockoffs in the way of saddle pads that copied the old Orthoflex flat panels. To use the near-tight girth, I have a horse that's a lot bigger than this, so my girth fits this one better. I'm going to show you a little something to you that I showed to Dee Pickett, 2 times all-round world champion cowboy, the first $1 million money winner in roping, and a man that I worked with for many years, and I learned a lot from Dee, and he learned some from me. But it's how you girth the horse. This is a cinchy horse. He turns around and he bites. You saw that he had lots of reaction here up the front edge of the girth. He said, "Would you please quit that?" So, turn your horse this way some. That's good. Now what I'm going to do, I've only got 2 wraps through there. I'll take another one. I want to tighten him up really good. Get a lot of leverage. The more times you take your latigo strap through the girth from here to here, the more of a pulley action you have. Tremendous leverage in the Western latigo system. I like to make my own nylon latigos, which are quite thin, provide no bulk, and it slides on itself very easily. So as I tighten, first thing I'm going to do is I want to push against the horse. I want to lean against him till he's pushing back against me. In doing this, I'm steadying him. I'm going to reach as close as I can get. I'm going to pull straight out. Would you like to come check, see how tight that is? So that's all you need, except for the other side. I haven't tightened the other side. This girth is the shape of the horse. All girths for hundreds of years, all Western saddles had a latigo strap on both sides and were tightened on both sides. So in doing that, when you get on, you will not pull the saddle over because you're loose on the off side and tight on the near side. So if I walk around tight in the off side before I get on, saddle stay right where you put it. That should be done with every saddle, and it was until the saddle makers in the early sport of rodeo required the participants to toss saddles from horses to horse to horse, a saddle from horse to horse to horse. They used an off billet. And in using the off billet, they could do that and only cinch on one side, hop right back on. The saddle manufacturers used their scrap and put off billets on saddles and saved $10, $15 a saddle and convinced you that's what you're supposed to use. Until then, everybody used a latigo strap tightened on both sides, just like the English rider tightens on both sides. So, to go ahead and loosen the girth, if it were buckled up, you can see I can tighten it even more, where I can loosen it. But if I'm pushing against the horse, he knows what to expect, and he's pushing back against me, which is his most basic response. His response is to push against pressure, not to yield to it. One of the funny things to me, the basis of Pirelli's natural horsemanship is to teach your horse to give and move away from pressure. And I can take a Pirelli horse, and it takes me 2 or 3 tries, and he's pushing back against me anyway, because it's his natural response. So that's how you tighten without a horse without bothering the horse. And if you notice, this girth, I can still get under it right here. So I can still get my hand in here, but I can't right here. And I certainly can't on the sternum. So that's the little trick, is putting the flare in the girth to start with. So it's near tight, where it's the most ouchy with a flat strap tightened on that flat of the ribs. And by the way, if you look at the way the tree's made, and this is a totally different tree than was on the horse a while ago, I have no pinch. My whole hand goes in here. My contact is at the bottom. It's holding the saddle up in front. The seat is balanced. We have no need for balance shims because of the way the tree's made. So anytime you use balance shims with my trees, it's the minute adjustment for the rider's balance. Thank you.